Welcome to the Happiness Happens podcast. I'm Simona Nicole, host of the show, mindset coach, and motivational speaker. I've made it my mission to help you get unstuck, shift your mindset, and understand your worth to help you live your most purposeful life. Each week, I will bring you an idea, guest, or a positive thought that will leave you inspired and empowered to win your life. We decide the stories we tell ourselves and where we invest our energy. I'm so grateful you popped in. Now let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode on the Happiness Happens podcast. We have such a lovely guest today, and I'm really excited for her to share her story with you because there's a lot in here that you can take and really transform into your own life, a lot of learning lessons, and just a really great story about like grit and perseverance and following your dreams. So I'm really excited. We have Olivia Howard on the show today, and I want to let her introduce herself with her story. So Olivia, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Hi, yeah, thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Me too.
This is my first podcast, so
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be your first.
and it's like really cool to like finally be in a place where I can like share my story too.
Yeah.
So no time like the present.
Exactly. Okay, so kick us off with like the journey that sort of brought you to where you are today.
All right. Nutshell version. So I'm originally from Georgia, and I moved to New York at a pretty young age. Like I graduated high school and I was like, bye, I'm out. And I didn't know really what I wanted to do. First, I just knew I wanted to move to New York. And I got a musical theater scholarship. I'm like, great, I'm going to do musical theater. It's New York. Awesome. After I did a 2-year school conservatory, I met my best friend and we went on an audition and we looked at each other after that. And we're like, let's never do this again.
Oh no.
Like, I mean, it was great. We love theater. We go to see shows. A lot of our friends are still in theater, but like, it was not for us. Like, this is not our pathway. It's a lot of other talented people's pathway that are much better singers, much better actors than us, but it's not for us. So while I was trying to figure out what I was doing with my life, I worked in hospitality, like 90% of New Yorkers at any point in their life.
It's the best job. I worked in hospitality also, and I loved it. It was one of my favorites.
I mean, you know your people, people's person.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, yeah. And so I loved hospitality, and being from the South, I found this little restaurant called Brother Jimmy's, and it's a little Southern restaurant, and it's the only place I could find sweet tea. So I'm like, well, it only makes sense for me to work here. So I found my family there, and they were great. I was there for years, and I worked my way up, and so I found myself I tried a lot of things. I tried a lot of different pathways, and finally, when I kind of moved into the events and reservations process of that, because you kind of feel like you get stuck.
Yeah.
And I don't. And then I got like another job just doing events and reservations, and it was not for me. Like it was not what I wanted to do. I was so unhappy. Long story short, one day while I was doing my job wearing many hats, our florist for an event like called out, or I don't know what happened really, but my manager comes up to me. He's like, we need flowers. It's National Rosé Day. We have the fat Jewish coming here. And I'm like, well, we got to have flowers.
Oh my God.
So they're like, well, can you help out? And I was like, I dabble. I have no idea what I'm doing. So the next day I'm putting together like these little small arrangements and stuffing flowers into boxwood. And I literally stop and I say to myself, this is going to be the happiest part of my day. And it was really cool. It was a cool moment. So I gave my 2 weeks notice the next day. I like walked in, I was like, this is it. I was like, I don't know really what I'm going to do, but I know that this is what I'm supposed to do. I'm going to figure it out. And luckily through this entire process, I met my now future husband. And he was a very supportive boyfriend, fiance, into husband. And we met on Tinder. Swipe right for love. It works.
Oh, I love that.
So he was there to help support me and was like, we'll figure it out. So I found a small little flower shop, and this guy, he was an older gentleman, been in the business 40 years.
Wow.
And I said, listen, you teach me flowers and I'll help you with your emails and your phone calls and all of that. And he's like, great. So I was there for a year just learning, and the rest has been peddling it for, ever since. So
Wow.
yeah,
That's amazing. So how many years has it been since you sort of found it? How old or new is it?
So new, like 2 years.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I think 2 years and I'm like, oh my God, you get it, girl. Like, you know what I mean? Because I feel like, especially when you have your own business, there are so many ways, especially when you first start out, like there's so many things that could be like scary, or like maybe it's just gonna like not, or maybe I'm just gonna go back to what I was doing before, you know what I mean? So I feel like when you sort of make it past those first couple of years, you're like, yes.
Yeah, it went 0 to 60. Like it was a lot happened. And I mean, just looking back where I was last year, I think, where was I last year? I think, yes, I was still at the flower shop this time last year.
Wow.
So it was a lot. And that was more retail, but I still had my love and passion for like hospitality and events.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to marry that, and that was not really his thing or direction. So that's why I kind of branched off and was like, all right, I'm going to marry my hospitality and the love of people, and just making that connection. Like whenever I meet a new client, a bride, an event planner, like that, I love that instant connection. And like, I want to know their story to create something really, like happy and magical and like their vision come true. So that's the reason my company started. So
I love that so much. And it's like it seems like you really get like fueled and inspired by the people that you get to work with. Aside from that, is there anything in specific that like is a motivating factor for you that like motivates you every day when you get up? Like, do you just feel aligned to what you're doing?
yeah, I mean, I think just I love so much. I never knew what loving your job was until I found this. And I'm like, oh, this is what it feels like to wake up and really love what you do. And when I worked for the flower shop, the owner had fell very ill halfway through, me being there 6 months and still learning. And he's like, hey, listen, I'm pretty sick and I'm not going to be able to come in. You're going to have to go to the flower market and like buy flowers for this small shop. And I was like, are you kidding? I have no idea what I'm doing. I've only been here 6 months. I'm still learning what certain flowers are. And he's like, he took me down there and he showed me like how to buy, like, introduced me to a lot of the people down there in the New York City flower market.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it was so incredible. Listen, when you can wake up at 4:30 in the morning and you feel like Cinderella, like literally the streets of 28th Street, like it just opens up, birds sing, and I was like, oh my God, I'm wide awake at 4:30 in the morning. I love my job.
That's the best feeling. I mean, that's really early, so that's amazing.
I've turned into a morning person now, and
Yeah.
I think what makes it so magical too and happy is that just a sense of community. I've never felt just people want to help you out. I go down there, and the guys, if I'm not sure about a new flower, they are so eager to teach you and be like, this is how you process this flower, and this is how you get longevity out of it. And I was like, oh, they're so eager to teach you and help you out in any way. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm looking for a job right now. They're like, oh, this florist is hiring freelancers, so
That's awesome.
everybody's so incredibly kind and helpful, and I had never really experienced it in that way before. So yeah.
That's awesome. You know, as you were saying that, I had like a question pop into my head, and I'm curious if you like have one or two different tips to like keep flowers longer. Like how can you make your cut red roses, you know, last longer in a vase if someone bought them for you?
Yeah, I think it honestly, it depends on the flowers sometimes, but if you have a nice, spring bouquet, like all these really nice flowers that are out right now and we have no access to them because we're
I
quarantined. It's
know.
so sad. I'm like,
I
there's
know.
pennies out there just waiting to be bought. And
And they're like, where are the people?
no, it's so sad. All the weddings being pushed back.
I know.
Yeah, I just fresh water, a fresh cut, giving it every 2 or 3 days, cutting the ends, freshening up that water. You'll get a lot longer longevity out of your flowers there.
That's awesome. You know, given the situation that we're all in right now, by the time this airs, I'm hoping we won't be in this situation anymore, but I think that we still will, honestly. But, you know, that said, what's it been like, you know, having a business that's still new and navigating like this kind of change in your business right now and with all of your brides and all of your clients? Like, you know,
Yeah.
what's that been like?
So I was a little nervous because officially it started in November, so super, super new being official. And I had hunkered down in January and February doing like my outreach, just cold dropping instant messengers to event planners and being like, hey, if you're looking for a florist for some of your brides, hit me up, and had created those connections.
Yeah.
And then I was like, all right, spring, we're going to get baby showers and bridal showers. And unfortunately, that has all now kind of been put on hold.
Mm.
So I was a little nervous, but I'm making the best of it because I'm still just connecting with people. And I think that once we're out, people are going to be ready to go out and catch up on all those celebrations that they didn't get to really do.
Yeah.
A lot of mine have really been pushed back until June. So that seems like the safe.
I've heard June also, and it makes me a little nervous because, well, it makes me a little sad, to be honest, because my bridal shower is in June and my wedding's in August. And so, yeah, so I was like, okay, well,
Pay for August though.
I know. I'm like, okay, pray for August. But I really think that, I mean, I don't know. There's so many different things. Like, how can you even assume what's going to happen? Like, nobody knows. You know what I mean? And I think that's like the that's the thing. And like, I don't know. My fiance and I were talking today, and he's like, it feels like Sunday today. And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, what day is it? I'm like, it's Wednesday. And he's like, oh my God. He's like, I feel like we're just like rolling like into the days, just like rolling into, you know? And I'm like, oh my God. But anyways,
I will say it has flown by. Like
it has.
It's weird. Like I feel like it's been a while, but I also feel like it's flown by. I don't know. I live in the city in New York, and I've been staying out here in Queens with my in-laws while my husband's working like 6-7 days a week. So we are, I'm doing home projects. I've been painting like every day.
That's so
I'm like,
nice.
need another room to be painted.
What else can I do?
She's like, you really need a project, don't you? I was like, listen, I can't get my hands on flowers right now. Give me something to do.
Give me something. Exactly. And I think that's the thing. This is a great opportunity to literally go in and like discover like your passions and what you love to do, and like have time to paint, and like have time to be more creative. Or like today we washed our cars, like, you know, for like hours, and we were like, oh, let's make sure to get every single little detail. You know what I mean? You have nowhere else to be, so you might as well. And like organizing and cleaning, and
I think it feels like a little reset too. I know there's like terrible things happening and the economy. We have our worries. Like I reached out to this event planner yesterday, just checking in on her and her family. And I'm like, hey, just thinking about you. And she was like, secretly, I'm kind of like loving this time I'm getting with my husband and kids. I have stressful moments of worrying about everything else going on, but in a way, it's a little bit nice.
yeah.
And everything else we'll figure out. Their events will come back. We can rearrange the calendar. No problem.
That's exactly it. And I think that that's such an important point that you make, because this is the perfect moment to reset, spend time with the people that you love, turn inwards and just like figure out what brings you happiness. You know what I mean? If you don't know.
Like a hobby that you had no
Yes,
idea, right?
exactly. Exactly. And I don't know. I think it's really interesting. And I think that, it kind of leads into like my next question for you. And it's that, sometimes people are scared or fearful, and they're scared to take a leap, and they're scared to pivot in a new direction. What would you say to someone who is sort of scared to take that leap or to try that new thing? Because
Yeah.
you've done a lot of that. So
Yes. I would say just do it. Like dive in. But I would also say do your research. Like and
Mhm.
ask a lot of questions. Because like I was saying before, when I went to the market and people were like, this is how you process this new flower. And if I had a question, they were so willing to answer. So I think just knowing that there are people out there that are willing to help you and want you to ask those questions. So, find your people. I have a great group of girls that we started as waitresses together um, at that restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's so cool because now everybody is in different, like their career. One's a teacher, one's like a female entrepreneur, another one's a successful event planner and we all like send clients to each other. We all bounce ideas. So I think you need like just have a group of people that are going to be really honest too, because nobody's helping anyone if they're not honest with you and like, do you think
So true.
right?
Oh, I love that so much. That's really, really important. And I think that it's like, you know, yeah, no, that's a really, really good point. And I think that it's awesome that you have that type of community, because sometimes it can be very lonely to have, a business, or, be an entrepreneur, or have your small business, or, do your thing without that type of support. So having those kinds of people is so important. And I think it's really cool now because we have this like opportunity to just connect with people online and hop
Right.
on Zoom calls with people, and you're like, what is happening? Like it's a cool time to connect. And I think it just shows you like, even though we're so far apart, like spatially or whatever, however you say that, like we're not close by, you still can connect with people. I don't know.
Always, always,
Yeah.
yeah. And I just think like I didn't think that I realized that too until when I worked for the shop. It was just two gentlemen, like two older guys, like senior adults, and they were great. But then I realized like I miss my girls, like I miss working with other women, and
Yeah.
and I would just be there and towards like the end of closing I would like shoot a text or email to them. I'm like, I miss you guys, like I genuinely miss working with women. So that was another reason of like, all right, it's time to do my own thing and have that support system. So yeah, going back, the question, I think that that's important. Dive in, take that leap, have your support system, ask the questions, and do your research.
I love those. Those are really, really good tips. And if you okay, given all that's happening right now and all of the challenges that we're facing, how do you get back, or how would you say, someone could get back to like that more of like growth mindset, positive mindset, when they're feeling down, especially when it might feel harder to do that?
Right. I mean, I was actually just doing that today. I was like, I need a little bit of inspiration. Like, I kind of feel like I gotta know, I don't know, just I've been in the same house for 3 weeks, like, you know. So I would usually art. I love looking at art. Nature. It's kind of hard to go out on walks and see nature in the city and stuff.
Yeah.
But recently, I have a really talented fine art gallery this guy in our building owns. And he invited me to his opening for this new artist at his gala. And it was so inspiring, just the color palettes and the lines. And I was like, this is great. And I ended up hopping over and going to 5 other galleries, and they were all different and unique. And I'm like, oh, how can I like plug all these colors in this artwork to flowers and color schemes? So that's kind of how like I gather that. So doing that now where you can't go to art galleries, I went on Pinterest and I've turned to the internet and I'm just like, inspirational art, colors. I don't know.
I love that. Like the similarities of like things that would like make you, feel happier, like ground you, or, make you feel just more upbeat. Can't do them in person. So like finding a different way to do that. I think that's so important because it just reminds everybody that there's still options and like we can still do so many things,
You're home, grab a pencil. I mean, I'm not the best artist when it comes to drawing, but I just got a sketch pad. I'm like drawing plants in my mother-in-law's windowsill here. Like, there's stuff for you to do, and I think you discover things about yourself as well. And again, like I said earlier, hobbies. There's other things besides going out to eat, drink, and spend money.
It's so true. I think that like that becomes like so apparent, especially right now that like there's like so many other things that, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit similar to you in the sense that like you were saying that you like were enjoying this time, and I feel like I haven't really missed out on anything.
Right.
Like, I'm like, should I be concerned? Like, I have been in the house for almost a month. Like, should I be concerned that, I haven't gone anywhere and done anything? But
this.
exactly. I'm like, I don't know.
I mean, I think it also gives us options. Like, listen, if this was to ever if you were sick for a week, take care of yourself and stay home. You don't need to go into work, into the office, into the world. And that it's 2020. We have access to the internet, Zoom, Skype, all these places to chat and be connected. So,
It's so true. As like, how do I want to phrase this question? As a business owner, how are you seeing the small business / entrepreneur industry sort of shifting as this is going on?
I mean, it's a scary time, especially like I said earlier, I just started this in November officially. So I'm like, this is my building year. This is my year. Really, do those small weddings and stuff and get those pictures. I would love to be getting pictures right now to put on my new website or my Instagram. And unfortunately, that's not happening right now. So I think we shift the calendar, we hunker down, and I think we use this time to use our resources like the internet to make connections with people. And Instagram's great. I think some of the best people I've met are over Instagram that I've never met to this day, to still sometimes. And I've said to them, I was like, hey, listen, I'm a florist, you're an event planner, I'd love to work with you in the future, like let's connect. And I've met some really, really incredible men and women from that. So yeah.
That's so cool.
I think you just have to like, I don't know, be creative with how you use this time, be productive with what you got.
That's so true. I love that. I love that you said that. I mean, I think that, for myself, like I was starting to get like overwhelmed a little bit with all the stuff that was online because it's like, anyway, there's so many different things, like so many different stories, so many different conversations. And I was like, well, I need to like turn all of this off or I'm not going to make it. Like, you got to be really careful about like what you sort of put, what you listen to and all that kind of stuff. Right. So I think that it's just really interesting. Like you were saying, it's a very, very interesting time. It's like, at the same time, you have all of these people that you can connect with and all these like amazing opportunities to like do stuff with your business. And as you're saying, it's like your building years, like you're still building, you know what I mean? Because you're still building in terms of everything.
Right.
Awesome.
I think small businesses, I think they'll be fine. We'll persevere, just have to have that positive attitude and work with what you got.
I love that.
We're all in the same boat here.
Exactly. What was like the process like from, sort of working with these two wonderful men that you were working with to transitioning on your own and starting your business that's like your baby? What was that like?
It happened so fast. I don't even think I remember. I was like, oh, I can work from home now part of the time. And so I think the transition was interesting, quick, and it took a lot of planning and discipline to like, okay,
Mhm.
I need to put myself on a schedule. Like, what is my routine going to be like? Because I think I've worked better sometimes on a routine.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it just took a lot of adjusting on that part. But it's great. Like I said, you're alone, but you're not alone because you have those support systems and
Mhm.
stuff like that. Yeah.
What were some of like the first things that you started to do in your business? Like what, like, is it like, I don't know, some people will go straight for like the logo design. Some people will go straight to the website, Instagram, like what was like some of the first things for you?
Um, I think the first thing from trying to this happened all in like a year. So I
I
just
know, I know, I know.
I don't even know what did I have for breakfast this morning. I think that for me, it was the core values of what I wanted my business to look like.
Mm,
So, why did I start this business? I started this business because I think it's important to not feel like you're such a large company. Like, I don't want to be a big company. I want to have that one-on-one relationship with a client. And so say a bride calls me, they're not getting somebody in my office or a middleman. Like, you're directly working with me. Like, my son is like, I got you. Like, I'm going to take care of you. We're in this together, and like, come to me with anything. So I kind of wanted to build that foundation of, brides and event planners feeling safe and
mm,
able to ask the questions and not feel like they're going to get a merry-go-round of people, be like, all right, well, we got to talk to the designer. Now we got to talk to the manager. Now we got to talk to this person. And I'm like, I got you. It's just going to be me, and we're going to work together and collaborate, because in the end, this is your vision. Like, this is going to be your event. I'm just, putting my 2 cents in, and, color schemes and flowers.
and like your amazing touch. I love that.
So I mean, it's all working towards the bigger picture, because I mean, listen, the flowers are not the only thing that's going into these large events. It's just a part of the team of, the lighting directors and the the sound people and the caterers. Like, there's so many elements that go into an event. So it's great just to be, you got to be a team player, and you got to, like, this is what I'm contributing to this vision.
That's awesome.
So that's
Um,
what I started with. Yeah.
no, I love that. And, we were talking a little bit about this before, but, okay, so we have all this time now where people can sort of try new things and that kind of thing. But, I mean, you've done so many different things and have tried so many different things. And so, what would what would you say to someone like to help them try and find their something that they're passionate about if they're not 100% sure what that would be?
Oh gosh. I mean,
I'm sorry. I feel like they're hard questions.
I like it. No, there, because I think it's so different for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone has their own journey, their own pathway. I I think it's where you are in life. Like, listen, if I discovered flowers and I did that maybe 7 years ago, I don't think I would be in the mindset and be going on the path I would to be where I am today. Does
Right.
that make sense?
No, that makes perfect
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. So I think that if you just trust your gut.
I want to quickly pause this interview and tell you about the Handel Group coaches that I've had the honor and privilege of bringing onto the Happiness Happens podcast. With every conversation and interview, I've learned something so impactful and so life-changing. Inner You Life is the online coaching course from Handel Group that gives you the tools to get yourself unstuck, wildly happy, and thriving where it matters most to you. Your relationship to yourself, career, love, body, money, time, and more. From wherever, whenever. Recommended by Hugh Jackman, Dr. Mark Hyman, Forrest Whitaker, Elena Brower, and hundreds more. Taught in MIT, Stanford School of Business, and 50 plus institutes of learning across the world. Visit inneryou.coach and use the code HAPPINESSHAPPENS at checkout for $75 off. Now, back to the episode.
Trust your gut. You just keep going, and it just happens. It really does. And I think you just have to trust your instinct. I grew up with flowers in Georgia, and that my grandfather had a farm, not a flower farm, it was a horse farm. And he had like sunflowers and peonies and daffodils, like as far as the eye could see.
Wow.
And as a kid, I would go and around this time of year, Easter, when they're all out, and pick as many daffodils as my little hands could hold. But like, I wasn't thinking at 7 years old I was gonna like grow up and be a floral designer in New York. No way. I had no idea. It's something I love to do. So I think it's what you make of it, you know. And if
Totally.
it's your time, it's your time.
Oh, I love that so much. And you're so right with that. Like, if you just keep sort of going, and you eventually you sort of end up where you need to be based on whatever next step you take. And I think that,
Absolutely.
your path is always becomes more clear in that sense.
I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts. That's how I really started and learned, is listening to a couple like flower podcasts. And
So
it's
cool.
so funny because one of the podcasts I listen to, they always ask like, "How did your journey start?" A lot like what you ask, and
Yeah.
every single like person in this industry, their answer is different but the same. Where they're
Yeah.
like, "I kind of fell into it," or "Flowers found me." Like I was not doing this. I wasn't going to be a florist. So one day this happened and here I am. So I think it's so cool that that's everybody's story in their own unique way.
It's so true though. Even if I think of like, I tend to bring on, I bring on like a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of coaches, um, business owners, that kind of thing. And it's very similar in that, it's sort of trial and error in all these different areas that brings you to where you are and where you're sort of meant to be. And a lot of the people are like, especially coaches, they're like,
Mhm.
I just sort of realized that I just help people all the time anyway, so I might as well just be doing
Feels
that as
like you're throwing spaghetti against the wall. You're like, I like this. I
yes.
mean, am I good enough to like maybe it's a hobby. And then you throw another spaghetti against the wall and like this stuck. Great, I'm gonna go with
I
it.
love so much that you use that analogy because have you ever actually done that before
I
in real
have.
life?
I
Okay,
did.
me too. And I
But
told my family, and they were like, "You what?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I threw spaghetti on the wall." And they were like, "Why?" And we're Italian, so they were like, "Why would you do that?" And I was like, "Oh, I didn't think it was a bad thing." Oh my
I think
god,
it works. I mean, I don't really cook. My husband cooks. But so
bless.
when we got married, I was like, nailed it. And I won the tender game. I was like, firefighter, check. Professional chef, check. Never cooking again.
Done.
Done.
Oh my god, he
I know.
must have crazy time right now.
Yeah, it's insane right now. Thankfully, he's not. They're staying as safe as they can. So
Good.
thank you, all of our first responders, our nurses.
Yes.
We're killing it.
Absolutely. Literally could not imagine what it would look like without all of them.
Yeah,
Truly.
and seeing too, because I mean he's at 7 days a week. He just got 6 days a week where he has one day off. And I've been here quarantined. Everybody's like, I've been quarantined with my husband or my boyfriend or girlfriend, and I'm like, he leaves before I wake up, and then we have like a couple hours in the evening having dinner and then going to bed. Like,
You're like, I'm quarantined with my in-laws.
yeah. Oh man, I told him, I was like, you're gonna regret this. I was like, we're gonna get his mom and we're gonna go through the wine.
You
He's
know
having
what? It's
fun.
nice. It's nice that you sort of, well, first of all, it's nice that you all get along, because I imagine you probably wouldn't be there if you didn't. But, you know, and to be able to just crack open the bottle of wine and just enjoy, and,
Yeah, I
that's
know.
what's that. Those are the little moments that like we get to enjoy right now, that
Yeah,
like,
and again, connecting with your family and stuff, like, her and I hang out, but like not to this extent. We haven't killed each other yet. Like I said, we're doing projects like sort of like, what can I help you with, and it's been a productive 3 weeks.
that's awesome. I think that is amazing. You know, okay. Do you think that it's hard for people to experience happiness, like true happiness? And do you think that, there's a reason why?
Happiness, it's such a thing that it's a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's something that just clicks. like happiness is a different definition for each individual person. And I think that you just have to be confident in yourself and who you are, and, take time, like learn what you like, and be honest with yourself. And I think that switch will just go off, and
Mhm.
that's your happiness.
Mhm.
So, and again, be honest with yourself. So, and I think that's how people find their happiness.
That's so, so, so key. Um, okay. I want to sort of like pivot a little bit because you've talked like a little bit about nature and, um, you know, I feel like that's something that might ground you a lot. I don't know if that's the truth, but, what's the importance of being around nature and surrounding yourself by the outdoors and like being immersed in it?
I think it's so important, and I just think it's so refreshing, especially living in the city. And then I think I think in New York we live in a little bubble, and
Yeah.
we don't know it really is. And growing up in Georgia, it was an everyday thing. And then moving to New York, and then coming back home to Georgia, I'm like, wow, a tree, this is great. And it's things that I would have probably I took for granted. I was like, this is just an everyday thing for me growing up, and now I can come back and just like really appreciate nature. And when I was a kid, we would always drive up to the Smoky Mountains in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, and the foliage would be just so beautiful. And I think it's just so incredible to take that and be like, this is what the world looks like most of this is, and it's also different. So I think it's so important to kind of like reconnect, center yourself, and then you can get so inspired by colors and the line work of nature.
Oh, I love the way that you put that. That's so true. And especially like if people are feeling really stressed and that kind of thing, like they'll say, like people will just say like, go for a walk like in nature and like go spend time by the water and like, that
Right.
kind of thing. But
What
I
does
think
that mean?
I know it's like the pond. Like, should I walk to the pond? Like
uh,
there's a patch of grass right outside my house. Does that count? Like
I know New Yorkers are like rolling in it. I think, yeah, you definitely. I went through some really bad seasonal depression when I first moved to New York, because I would like sleep out in an hammock when I was in high school, like during the summer. And I remember my mom being like, remember, you can't fall asleep in the park. You can't sleep outside. The first 2 years, I was really depressed, like
oh,
during spring and fall. But, now it's been 9, 10 years, and
oh wow.
it's been this year's 9 years. And now I really appreciate it when I go back out and discover something new. Kind of all
Awesome.
over again, really.
Yeah, exactly. You like remind yourself over and over again
Right.
how amazing it is. Mm, I have another business question for you, and especially because you're in New York. New York is so busy. There's so much going on, so many events, so many people, so many designers. Like, has there ever been a time that you've been worried about, being in a niche that, because I feel like I don't want to use the word like oversaturated, but there's so many florists, there's so many designers, there's so many event planners, like there's just so many of them. So have you ever been worried about that?
Um, I would be lying to say if I didn't at one point, but then I realized that there's enough to go around. It's New York. There's a ton of events. And what I learned when I got into the business was it was actually when I was getting married, and I reached out to the florist I really wanted to use. And they're like, listen, we're booked, but we can recommend a couple of other really great florists that have similar styles. And then that's how I found my florist. So word of mouth. And again, there's enough to go around.
Mhm.
And I think because the community is so tight and so supportive of each other, I'm happy. If I'm busy, I want to have, a handful of great florists that I'm happy to recommend.
Yeah.
And we're busy. Like, a lot of the small weddings or events I can put together by myself, but if I have a huge wedding, I get to work with my friends. Like, my friends
True.
freelancing for me. So I love meeting other like talented florists. So it's a busy busy business, which is amazing for us.
That's so good. But I also think that has to do with your mindset too, though. Like you specifically, like you're a very like positive person. And I mean, well, you seem to be, and we just met right now, but you know, I think I don't know, you can just tell a lot by somebody's vibe. And like, you know, the fact that you said like there's more than enough to go around, that it can take people so many years to learn. You know what I mean? And it's true. So it's amazing that you have that right at the foundation of your business, because like I really think when you like lead things with your heart, and when you sort of have this business that's built on the concept of like there's always more than enough,
Mm-hmm.
you'll have success in everything that you're doing. You know what I mean? Because you're not trying to fight or like win things from other people or anything like that.
Right. And at the end, like what goes around comes around. So it's like, if I'm booked or have something planned and I can't do an event and I pass it to a friend, like then that friend will hire me for a free, a gig. So like this community, again, I cannot be more grateful and thankful for everyone. Everybody just helps each other out,
I love that. I love that. Okay, so kind of another curveball question, because they're my favorite. I'm sorry, but I think you like them though. I don't know. When we talk about community, what's the, best part about having, you've touched on it a little bit, but like, I don't know if you want to elaborate, but what's the best part about having community? And if you don't have a community that you can turn to, where could you start?
That's a good one. Yeah, I kind of touched on it a little bit before. That, I mean, again, social media has been great. And if you don't have that community, find Facebook groups. That's how I found you.
Yeah, it is actually.
I found you. It was a recommendation from a friend. And she was like, listen, you just started your business. I recommend this Facebook group. It's a lot of like female entrepreneurs. Why don't you hop on there? And then I met you there, and I was
yes.
like, oh, that's like a living proof point of you can find your people on it, like on Facebook, on Instagram. Find a group, type in whatever you do, and it doesn't even have to be people that are in your field. Like you're not a florist,
No, yeah, exactly.
And a lot of the people I meet are like in the event industry or hospitality, but not necessarily florists. So I think just reaching out to those people, because you can help each other in different ways. So I think just dropping emails and saying hi to people.
That's,
be like, hi, here I am. This is what I do. How are you?
bye.
Bye.
I'll be over here.
Yeah, I think it's whatever you put out there is what you're going to get.
Totally.
Because if you're not going to send that email, or you're not going to send that, message on Instagram or Facebook, how are they ever going to know who you are? So I think it takes that, and it took me a really long time to learn this too, but you have to work up that courage, and just to reach out and say hi. And then that'll start a whole conversation and a new relationship that you didn't have before. So, yeah.
That's so true. I love that so much. Is there anything that you would want to like add? I have like 1.5 more questions, but before that, I just want to know if there's anything else that you wanted to add, anything else you want to leave with our listeners, or anything like that. It's okay. I've had people say no, there isn't, so that's okay.
It's so funny because I feel like I've crammed like my entire life story and my 1.5 years of kind of knowing what I'm doing with my business. I'm like, all right, did I cover everything? Yeah, I just think, we can go back and touch on the happiness, and how that I when I heard that your podcast and the name of it, like Happiness Happens, like it struck me. I was like, it does. Happiness does happen. And then I like reflected on my life a little bit, and I'm like, look where I am. Like, look at my business. And I didn't know this is where I would be 5 years ago.
True.
I just got married last year. Happiness happens. Like, we met on Tinder. Like, that was just chance, So I think you just have to be open and don't be afraid to make those connections and reach out to people.
I love that. Okay, so my last official question is a question that I ask all of my guests when they come on the show, and it's how could someone create more happiness in their life every day starting today?
I think, I mean, we talked about this earlier. I'm a morning person. So and I'm sure other people have said this too, but I truly believe it's how you start your day.
Mm.
I was not before. And being in the restaurant industry, it was like you're getting home at 3 a.m. and you're sleeping till noon. And it was just like you were in this cycle. And then when I got out of it, and not every day I'm waking up at like 4:35 a.m. So
No?
not every morning. I am a morning person, but the Disney birds don't come out that often like that. But I think when I'm not doing that, I do start my day with, I have a wonderful little rescue pup named Akila. And I think my happiness in the morning started when we got her, because it got me, I'm not on my phone in the mornings laying on bed for the first hour. She is like forcing me to get up. I start my day with like a 30-minute walk around the neighborhood, getting outside off my phone, and I can grab my coffee. So I start my morning with a walk, a dog, and a coffee.
Perfect.
You can't go wrong. So I think you just have to take that time. Even I'd say get up 30 minutes earlier than it would take for you to really get ready. Just have that
Yeah.
30 minutes, even if you're watching a little bit of a TV show.
Yeah. I love that. And I really think that a lot of people don't understand. If you don't do it, you don't understand the value of waking up earlier and feeling good about your day, easing into your morning, not feeling like, oh my God, like the alarm. Okay, so I listened to this thing once. I heard this one thing that it's like we put out, like, for lack of better words, we put out like fires, like 10 of them or 20, 30 of them in the morning before we even get into our cars to drive to work. Right? So we're constantly, like, when we're not aware of what we're doing, this was essentially what this thing was saying, was like, we wake up and we're annoyed at our alarm. We're like, oh, why are you waking me up? And then we snooze. Then we get annoyed again a second time when it goes off. Then we get annoyed that we have to get out of bed. And then, we get annoyed because it's cold outside from being in your sheets, right? And then you kind of like, oh, whatever. You stumble to your bathroom and like the light is like too bright. Like, just all these things that you could complain of. But when you start to shift your perspective around that and ease into your morning and wake up with like the gratitude of like, yes, this is what I get to do in the morning. Like, do you like to walk your dog in the morning when it's minus 40 degrees outside? Maybe not, but you still do it because you know it's going to bring you happiness in your morning anyway, right?
Gotta go. We're gonna wrap it up, and it's gonna, we're gonna make
exactly.
and we can scurry in and have our coffee on the couch. It's gonna be great.
Exactly. And I think that it's so important to remember that. So I'm glad that you brought that up as your happiness tip, because I think that there's so much power, especially right now in this time that we're living in, to have, and stick to as close as of a routine as you can, even though it's not like, maybe you start your routine 2 hours later than you normally would, so you can like sleep in a little bit. But, just keeping that consistency, which we were talking about before, is so important.
So you're not waking up and feeling frazzled and rushed in the morning, like you were saying. Like, that just sets the tone of your entire day. So yeah, wake up
Exactly.
30 minutes earlier than it takes you to get ready, and just start your day happy and calm. And I think that this time right now, while we're all quarantined and home, and I think it's a good time that, what is it, week 3? Is this week 3? Week 4? I mean, it's gonna, by the time this airs, it's gonna be
Like week 7. Okay.
But I feel like the first 2 weeks, like, I got all right, I'm chilling at home. I got my binge eating out. And then it was a couple days ago, my mother-in-law was saying, I was like, all right, I think this is a great time. If this is going to be extended until like almost May, I think it's a good time to set a routine for yourself. And it's a calm routine where you can do it slowly, gradually, and effectively. So then by the time we get back out into our day-to-day lives and jobs and going out into the world, we can be like, oh, I set this routine for myself, and now it's quite literally routine.
Oh,
But
I love that.
yeah. So
That's
take
so good.
this time.
I love that. Thank you. Olivia, thank you so much for coming on the show. Where can people find you? Because I know they're going to want to see more of your flowers.
Yay. So I can be found on Instagram at Olivia Howard _designs. And my website, which is, by the time this airs, I will have a new face to my website. So exciting. I'll have to go check it out. It should be up really going next week. So it's oliviahowarddesigns.com.
Amazing. That's awesome. I'm so excited. I'll put those 2 links in the show notes as well, so everybody can go on and just grab and click and then connect with you like that. But thank you so much for coming on today. This was really fun.
Yay, thank you. And thank you for having me on my first podcast. This was so much fun.
I know. It was really, really fun. And I think that you're really kind and like you just have really good like an energy and like aura about you. I just think you're lovely. So I'm glad that you did your own business. Like, it's good. That's amazing.
Thanks, and congratulations, and good luck with all your wedding planning.
Dang.
Now.
I'll keep you posted.
Perfect.
I love it. And thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into this week's episode. I hope that you enjoyed everything that we talked about. If you loved it, please connect with us online. Let us know. Share your favorite part. Share it with someone you think needs to hear this message. And remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope these words have brought you inspiration, insight, and a bit more happiness. Please leave a comment or a review if this episode resonates with you. I would be so grateful. Until next time, remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it.